Oh, this is hard. Can I get maybe 10 minutes to prepare that? Or?
I don't think so.
Charles, or should I go?
I don't think so.
I'd rather live in a state of pure nature than the stupid state of over-technology that we are hopefully getting out of.
Try to fight this problem of getting ecological information that is nowadays really difficult to find, which is really complex, which is very ambiguous, which is also very emotional. We really try to educate people by providing them very precise and at the same time straightforward information.
I would say like the best advice is to pick up an enemy because it gives you like hopefully a much bigger one than you. Like, you know, you want to be the small kid, like to box in a bigger category. That. So I changed my mind. I'm an underdog for sure.
We don't really talk about what people do bad. We start to really focus on what they do the right way.
Let's be realist and focus, you know, on the day-to-day tasks because that's how probably the best way to achieve dreams, I guess.
Very well, welcome to another episode of Meet My Green Plus One. The GreenTech Festival are special members of our community to bring their Green Plus One, who inspire them the most to make the world a little bit greener. This episode theme is Grassroots for a Greener Future, what means that small things count sometimes the most for the bigger picture. And we will ask in this episode what impact can change our daily routine and will bring into our lives a little bit more sustainable lifestyle. Our guest today is Vianney, co-founder of Back Market, and it'd be just great if you could do a briefly introduction of yourself.
Nice seeing you. I'm happy to be here, and thank you for inviting me and my plus one. So I'm Vianney, indeed, and I co-founded Back Market 6 years ago with Thibaut and Quentin, and I'm basically in charge of the brand. Maybe I can pitch a little bit my company. Totally. Basically, we're trying to promote an alternative to brand new device over consumption and over manufacturing by providing thousands of electrical and electronical devices that are refurbished by our partners. So that's basically the concept. We've been around for 6 months. We started in Paris, but we're happy to be now in Germany, in other European countries, and in the US as well.
Wonderful. So tell us, who's your plus one and why?
My plus one is actually a good friend of mine, full disclosure, but on top of being a friend, recently converged around entrepreneurship, around green projects, obviously. His name is Charles Bézard.
So Charles, will you say some words about you?
Hi guys. So I'm Charles. I actually co-founded Kelvin 6 months ago with my co-founder Romain. So Kelvin is an app that basically shows you the easiest way to protect the planet at your own level. So it's quite in the topic that you wanted to talk about today. And the idea is to create an app for people who have started to adopt new ecological habits to improve and to be sustainable, but who are quickly blocked by obstacles that prevent them from doing better. And it's actually all about this huge paradox that you have today, which is that ecology and environment has become a broad and critical subject, but in a way you still need to be kind of an astrophysician to be able to understand how to improve, what action you can take, etc. So with our app, we want to provide you information and advice in a really straightforward way. We want to provide you advice always with the impact that you generate when you get a habit. And we also want to be really inclusive, 100% inclusive. We want to help everybody, whatever their starting point is. And basically, this means that even my grandaunt, who is climato-sceptic, should be able to use Kelvin. So this is the general idea of the app.
Yeah, you're laughing. So you're using the app already, and it says good things, hopefully, about your
for me, no, I think what's interesting is like I'm the perfect audience for Charles. Like I think I do some things right, but a lot of other things I would say I suck at. You know, like when it comes to compost or like other ways to go further in zero waste or stuff like that. And so Kelvin is typically the kind of tool that says like, you know, it doesn't bash you, but it tells you where you are at in a very factual way. And it also gives you like advices to take the further step and again and again and again and again. And what I love about that as well, like where I see some convergence with what we are trying to do at Back Market is like, it's pretty much the same way. Like point of entry when you buy a refurbished device is rarely like, you know, ideological. Like I want to say, like, you know, to fight against e-waste or to save some raw materials or stuff like that. Usually it's more rational than that, a little bit more trivial than that. It's like a good product at a good price, and it's cherry on the cake that it's green. But we have no shame in talking about product and price, and then agree with the user that it's a little bit more than that, and that there is an ethos behind the purchase. My dream in some ways is like to see like a Kelvin app installed in every device I sell, because beyond the act of buying, it should also be a specific mindset that my consumers are little by little, entering into.
Great. So I would suggest we start with the game, which is pretty easy. I'm going to name two things and you choose one of them and explain why. It don't have to be the same. So, and the first will be a tough one because you're both working with technology that hopefully helps our nature to stay healthy and to get healthier. So the first pair is nature or technology.
Oh, this is hard. Can I get maybe 10 minutes to prepare that? Or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Do you want to start first, Charles, or should we go?
I don't think so.
I can take technology if it's okay for you.
Yes, totally. Go.
Okay. Obviously, we think at Kelvin that technology can be really, really good for environment and to tackle this crisis that we are currently living. And we are really geeks at Kelvin and those technological skills. So I would be lying if I told you that we don't believe in that and if we don't believe that technology can really help for that. But at the same time, I think that we should be careful and we should be balanced and not always think that technology will save us all. There are other ways we have to use to tackle this crisis, and those can be far from technology. It's more about human, it's a community, it's more about advocating, it's trying to convert the people around you, and you don't necessarily need technology for that. So if we want to tackle this crisis the good way, we have to use both technology and non-technology.
I'm super happy that Charles left me with the word nature, actually, because it's more beautiful. No,
you can also choose the same, so no worries about that.
I know, but in some ways it solves the issue for me, because honestly, even if it's a bit counterintuitive, because that market lives off technology, literally, like this is what we sell. At a personal level, I'm dubious towards technology, and you see this monkey in Why I Ate My Father. I mean, I know the French title, but by its famous book. During prehistorical time, you have the prehistorical man fighting against another tribe, and some are in favor of the fire, and some others say like, no, we don't need fire, we should go back to the trees, basically, and live with the monkeys. And I would naturally be inclined to this category, I guess. I love technology for everything that Charles said about how it empowers, like community advocacy and so on. But all in all, what I don't love about it is the way it posed itself, at least for decades, and maybe things are changing a little bit, but as like, just take me because I'm going to solve everything, no question asked, don't scratch the surface, and so on. When there are so many things to, questions, and it's interesting that we now live in a time where those questions are raised, whether it's about, the hardware or the, data privacy and so on. I think there is an interesting raise of consciousness around like how those devices are made, what do they do to us, what's happening with ourselves, like in the cloud and stuff like that. So we're in interesting times where those fundamental questions are asked, but for too long they've been not asked, and that's why I would say I'd rather live in a state of pure nature than the stupid state of over technology that we are hopefully getting out of.
And now you're understanding why he's fighting new high-tech products with black market.
Okay, so great start, because both of you are entrepreneurs. So take a risk or play it safe?
I think I played it safe personally, because the risk I took when I started back market were actually more like personal risks than the real professional one. Like the risk of saying like, I'm going to leave my company and I'm going to be unemployed and push for an ID. Actually, I did leave my job, but it was just to follow a woman at the other side of the world. And this gave me the space that was needed to actually join a project and start over. But all in all, it was not really like, a risk in a beautiful entrepreneur way. So I would say play it safe. And until now, like I think with back market, we've been pretty lucky to see our model like that just makes sense scale without having to push too hard in some ways. So things have been pretty smooth. I don't think I've been obliged to take that many risks in my young career personally. But Charles, I'm super eager to hear your answer.
Charles, what about you?
Yeah, I think it would be for me because we have this entrepreneurship project, but we also try to launch it in another city than Paris, which is quite uncommon. We try to launch that from from Marseille. Try to launch that in a way of doing business, not the exact classical way. We have to be really crafty about this. The whole project is more risky than safe. And I think that when you launch new projects, new startups in this field, in a way you have to be risky because you have to invent a lot of things. It's a virgin field. So I would say risky, yeah.
Well, I have the right for full disclosure because Charles, being a good friend of mine, I also saw him work on Kelvin before they actually launched the product, and he spent months and months to like do so much research. I've never seen such extensive research, you know, like went as far as like, you know, the darkest collapsology books and so on, like everything about how people deal with their waste and stuff like that. So I think it's funny you say risk, and in some ways you are taking many, but you also went like deep in those topics, which is a kind of way to play it safe to exactly know what field you're entering.
Okay.
Good point. Counts for you. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. Good point.
Regarding your companies and ideas, what is it about? Motivating or education?
Go ahead, Charles.
Oh, can I pick the two words? Okay,
You can also do motivate and educate. Just start.
Okay, so Kelvin is really about the two words. We try to fight this problem of getting ecological information that is nowadays really difficult to find, which is really complex, which is very ambiguous, which is also very emotional, not tangible. So we really try to educate people by providing them very precise and at the same time straightforward information. So Kelvin is about educating, but at the same time we try to motivate people. For instance, we don't really talk about what people do bad. We start to really focus on what they do the right way, to teach them this way, and we have a lot of way in Kelvin and the application, motivate them step after steps. So it really is a balance between those two parameters, and I don't think that you can succeed today doing, I would say, mainstream ecological education, missing one of those two parameters. You need both.
I think it's an honest answer. On our side, I think it's a tricky thing because, again, like we're not asking much from our consumers in some ways, because like it's not an effort to buy a refurbished device. Like you have so much financial incentive to do it, notably. That's less about making people enter like for ideological reasons. That being said, I think if I had to pick one word to define what we're doing on the green side of things, it's really about education. To me, the motivation comes with quality and price, the rational choice you make. And then once you adopt a device in back market, like this is when I try to make you more aware, like, you know, that beyond price and quality, the nature of those devices that you just adopted is slightly different from brand new ones, that it helps to tackle issues such as e-waste or planned obsolescence. And those issues are not that mainstream in some ways, I think, not as much maybe as in other industries such as energy, transportation, fashion industry, where people are very educated. I think the responsibility of back market is to educate its consumers and prospects around the challenges, the environmental and social challenges of tech industry. So education.
Okay, very good. You said some interesting words. So the next pair, low price or low emission?
Well, I'll be the dirty guy. I always go for low prices. No, but I guess you have to be realistic when it comes to the world. We live in a market, so this is where people buy, sell, you know, new stuff. And I think if we are waiting to see the market collapse to, you know, change the game, we're going to wait for a long time and the entire planet is going to collapse. I'd rather enter the market with low prices and, you know, give people a strong incentive to buy like something used versus something new. And then the impact of it is positive with lower emission. But I will always sell more smartphones by saying you save up to 50-60% of euros than mentioning the 29 kilograms of carbon emission that, you know, you save by buying refurbished instead of buying new. So I go for low price. It's simply more efficient.
What about you, Charles?
Yeah, once again, I think I pick Swap because I think that nowadays, it wasn't the same a few years ago, but everything is changing very fast. But nowadays, you don't necessarily have to choose between low emission and low prices. And in a lot of fields, you can have both of them. I'm thinking about back market, for instance, if you want a high tech. I'm thinking about energy, where in France, for instance, you can have green energy and it's not more expensive than conventional energy. And it's kind of the same if you think about it in every field. If you want to buy clothes, you can buy refurbished clothes too. It's less expensive. And as you know, being more sustainable is also consuming less. I really don't think that you have to choose between both terms. And this is why we try to educate about Kelvin, for instance. We have those consumption guides in the application that tells you for this field, this is what we recommend you. And most of the time, we make recommendation of merchants that are not as expensive and that are less expensive than conventional. So yeah, this is what I think.
All right. Underdog or mainstream?
Can we just really make the rule like that forces Charles Charles not to take the two words from the one. If it's okay with you?
It's okay for me, but there are not that many pairs anymore, but we can make this rule. So you have to decide for one, Charles.
Okay.
Again, underdog or mainstream?
Mainstream, for sure. That's what we want to go for. But crap, I'm no in Charles' position. Because really, if I had to define back market's attitude and so, we are the underdogs, like, for sure. And it gives you like so much, energy and focus in some ways to be, as an entrepreneur, it's always better to have an underdog. Like, I think if I had one advice to give to somebody who starts a company, I would say like the best advice is to pick up an enemy, because it gives you like hopefully a much bigger one than you. Like, you want to be the small kid, like to box in a bigger category. So from an entrepreneur perspective, I would be the underdog wishing to become mainstream. And that's kind of the DNA of back market, and hopefully will be mainstream at one point. But we have a long way to go, because if I look at my target market is basically like the car industry, where used car really became the norm. It's more than 50-50. You have more used cars that are on the market than brand new ones that are built. When it comes to electronics, you have one used device put back on the market when 9 are shipped out of factories. So we want to become mainstream, but we are far from being that. So I changed my mind. I'm an underdog for sure.
Charles, what about you?
For us, it's that any hesitation, it's mainstream, yes. Actually, at Kelvin, everything that we do, every choices that we make is based on this goal of being mainstream, of making really massive ecological education. Actually, the product doesn't really matter compared to that objective. The starting point for us is really to provide people with advice, with landmarks on ecology, to teach them how they can change their behavior, to have a massive impact like that. And I have to say, if the solution wasn't to create an app, if it was, to create an ecological circus, physical circus, or something like that, I would do that. So the goal is really to be mainstream for us and to have a massive impact.
No, we know what Kelvin's next pivot is going to be.
Exactly.
Okay, so I guess the following one is a perfect match, because it's a dreamer or realist.
Oh, that's a tough one. No, Charles, you go dreamer or realist?
I may tend to pick a realist, because we work on a topic where you have to be a dreamer, but you also have to be really focused on the real issues, the realistic way to tackle them, on the realistic time that you have to tackle them. So I would say that we are kind of serious for that. We are more realistic than dreamers.
For me, it's tricky as well, because it's so, does it apply to the company or to us as entrepreneurs and stuff like that? But I would go for reality in general. Yes, let's be realist and focus, on the day-to-day tasks, because that's how probably the best way to achieve dreams, I guess. I pick the same word than Charles.
All right. So I have one last question. It will be not a pair. It's an open question to you. What do you think is the best way to make sustainability truly inclusive?
But maybe I can start, Charles, but
go ahead.
Well, I think it's really about the notion of guiltiness, right? Like, I believe if you create some kind of aristocracy of a great green club, or however you call it, and, people that are self-congratulating, saying like how great they are, how expert they are at doing stuff, that's the best way, like, to leave the masses and to let the world go in the wrong direction. So I believe like solutions that are making the first few steps extremely easy, extremely accessible. I believe back market is one of them, but it's just in the tech industry. Kelvin is also another solution, and in every category you can think of, transportation, fashion, and so on. There are those players out there that are making the first step easy, and then take the user from one step to another, instead of precisely just dreaming up for a better future, but not knowing exactly, okay, once I know how to recycle my garbage, how do I go to compost? And once I go to compost, how do I go to putting less things in the compost and, use more what's in my fridge already? I don't know, like, there are so many ideas out there. So make the first steps accessible, and then take the user in your hands and help him go from step by step. That's what I love so much about Kelvin, because to me the first step, you buy a refurbished phone on back market, the next one you download Kelvin, and then all the steps would be, like, super natural for you and super easy to go from one to another.
Charles,
yeah, totally.
From your side.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And basically, this is just having a huge respect for the diversity of ecological level that you can find. And you can see that, in your family, people are not at the same level when you talk about ecology. It's the same way in your group of friends, it's the same way in a neighborhood, in the society. And you really have to respect the fact that some people are just starting, some people haven't started yet, but you have to accept that, you have to help them to take the first step, you have to be really inclusive. And it's just about that. It's just about respect of diversity. And you can see that today the issue is not that people don't want to make the first move. We can see in France sense that 2/3 of French people want to be more sustainable. It's just that they don't know how to start. So you have to respect that, and you have to help them, provide them the right advice, and then manage to be more sustainable, for sure.
Totally. I guess in Germany it's the same. Many people are just overwhelmed by the many things they can do, and they don't know how to start or where to start. So yeah, I see this issue too. Guys, thank you so much. Both of you are great examples for taking action in these crazy times. So thank you for fighting this for all of us, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Sure.
And
which is nice.
there was Meet My Green +1. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.